What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Squad. I accidentally hit record, and so that's why I just jumped in like that. Coming at you live from Zoom. That don't really match, but live from Zoom. How are you, Jay?
I just told you. I'm an hour and a half past being off work, but I'm here. I'm good. Got a good day. Long day.
I started my 2 new jobs today.
How you like it?
I like it. One I didn't really think I would like too much, but it actually came very naturally. I think that ain't nothing but God, because in the other time, in a similar situation, I have struggled.
Right.
But I did. Today was a good day. I thank God. I am officially a health coach, and it feels lovely to say that. Yeah, it was a good day. I have been in health and wellness, I really enjoy just learning about different things regarding health and wellness, regarding the body, how the body functions, what affects the body, and things like that. And so recently, I have been studying about parasites. And as I've been studying it, some things what I've learned so far, these things begin to stand out to me in relation to the spirit realm as well. And so that's why, that was on Friday and Saturday when I started really getting into that. And then on Sunday, something was just like, oh yeah, there's a anime called Parasyte. Let me check it out and see what I get from it. So what we discuss tonight will be centered on what was revealed to me about parasites physically, and how that translates spiritually.
So we talking spiritual parasites.
Because that's all demons are.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like the first time, like when I started reading about parasites, I was like, this sounds like demons. And it was when I actually sat and watched I ain't gonna say I only watched, like the first 2 episodes is where my like what we talking about tonight, that it mainly came from the first 2 episodes.
Right.
I watched up to episode 6 or 7, I believe.
How many episodes is it? I forgot. How many episodes is it? I forgot.
I don't know.
Ain't nothing but a real little research to do. Give me a second, but keep going.
But I stopped at 2. Well, I didn't stop at 2. I stopped at 6 or 7. But like I said, the information that I got was from the first 2.
Right.
So first, just getting in. Well, first last week, we touched on what is it? Monitoring spirits. Familiar spirits, but we got into familiar spirits as well. And it's really wild to think about how we let these, spiritually or physically, we let these parasites in without even knowing, being aware. So in a way, we're kind of picking back up on talking about monitoring spirits. Well, no, we're just getting a little bit more in depth about demons, really. And from a perspective of parasites. So regarding physical parasites, they're everywhere, first of all. They're everywhere. They're in your water, they're in your food. Even as a vegan, they're in vegetables and fruit. And if you don't wash them good enough, you messed up. But just about everybody on this earth has parasites or have had parasites in them at some point, physically speaking. And again, it's just because of the diets that we have, and how food is grown and stuff like that. And what we will find is that these parasites, 9 times, I mean, parasite is really just another word for a virus, because parasites lead to viruses in our bodies or illnesses and disease in our bodies. So even talking about, when coming from a place of health and wellness, you always hear like, well, for me, plant-based health and wellness, you always hear like, meat is the cause of this, dairy is the cause of this. Yes, that may be so, but it's also what is attached to the meat. And so that then makes me think of, sin is the cause of this, sin is the cause of this, but in actuality, yes, it's the sin, but it's also what is attached to the sin. And so when you look at, there are different types of parasites as well. So just like there are different types of demons, there are different types of parasites. And what tends to happen is, in the same way, this was some very wild stuff to discover. In the same way that demons affect how we think and how we move and stuff like that, physical parasites do the exact same thing. You may think you naturally just crave this sweet or these sweets, these sugary snacks or whatever, or these salty snacks, but really the parasite has to thrive on that. Therefore, it produces chemicals within your body to make you crave that. You're not really craving it yourself. The parasite is craving it. And because you are the host of the parasite, it makes you crave it. Same idea with sin and demons. You are the host of the demon or demons, because even parasites multiply inside of you. So demons can multiply inside of you as well. And so because you are the host, it is making you crave these things. You may have engaged in it 1 or 2 times, but because that demon that is attached to that sin has embedded itself in you or connected itself to you because you engaged in the sin, it is now making you crave it on a daily basis to the point where it is becoming normal to you. So then we move on over to the show, Parasite. Now, opening scene, a man is eating his wife.
Yeah.
First thing you see, a man eats his wife. His face morphs, and then he eats his wife. And that is because of the parasite. The parasite has altered his appearance, one. And when you look at the people who once the parasite, because some of the parasites don't always go to your brain. We see that with Shinichi. It doesn't go to his brain.
Because he so-called stopped it.
Yes, but most of the parasites that we see, or most of the people who are hosts of parasites, they end up going to the host's brain. And you can tell that just by how everybody can tell, like, it's like you don't seem like yourself. Something seems different. Something seems off. And even as Shinichi, like as the parasite is with Shinichi long enough, you begin to notice a change in Shinichi.
Right.
And you begin, and people start, like, there's a girl who they like.
Shinichi's the main character for those who need to know.
Shinichi's the main character. So there's a girl, and she's I don't remember her name, but she's always, they like each other. And she is always asking, "You are Shinichi, right?" And it's just because, like, when you like somebody, you study them enough to know, like, this is you, this ain't you, whatever. And so when he starts, like, it's like as soon as the parasite comes, she can tell. And she just starts asking, like, "You are Shinichi, right?" And at
because
first,
he saw how it was altering his character and personality.
And that's what happens with the demon. I can remember my aunt told me when I was in witchcraft and all this stuff, she was just like, this is not you. Something is wrong. This is not my niece. And then there came a time in 2020 where me and my mom had like another one of our breakdowns. But this one was like, I was like yelling and screaming at her. It was over the phone, but I was yelling and screaming at her. And after that happened, like she and I had a conversation, and she was just like, that was like a demon was coming out of you. Like I've never seen you do that before. And that is not my daughter. And at the time, I didn't quite know what they meant. But now as I am learning more, I do understand. And I see it myself in certain people, and it's like, this is not you. Like I could look at you and tell like this is something attached to you that is making you operate in this way. You can't quite see it, but I see it. And so as the show progresses, we see Shinichi begin to change. It even gets to his mom, which is also how demons work. The enemy is ruthless, takes no prison. Like no matter what, he does not care. He gonna get to your mama, or he gonna get to your daddy, or he gonna get to your sister or your brother, or whoever is closest to you. Because there came a point where the parasites were ultimately trying to, or this particular parasite was ultimately trying to destroy Shinichi. It was mainly because he was like, I don't like how this is working out, because Miki, which was the parasite that was in Shinichi, Miki just hadn't burrowed into Shinichi's brain yet. And because of that, the other parasite was like, oh, he could be dangerous. I don't like this. And so how I viewed it is it jumped into his mom, or one of the parasites got into his mom because he was trying to get to Shinichi.
Right.
And that's how the enemy can work. The enemy can attach itself, and this is why we always have to be vigilant. I had a dream, and the gist of the dream recent, it was actually Sunday morning, like Saturday night, Sunday morning, when I had the dream. And the gist of the dream is, if you are not careful, the enemy can sucker punch you. If you are not vigilant, the enemy can sucker punch you. And if you're not willing to endure, he can take you out. And in the dream, I was with my sister, and which is wild because we talked the next day too. But I was with my sister, and there was some girl who walked past me and said something slick, and basically trying to provoke me. And I said something back, and the provocation like gave her the authority to try to do something to me, try to retaliate. Or it gave her the permission to try to retaliate. And I knew it, like something said like she's gonna try to retaliate. And it's gonna be a sucker punch. So it helped me to stay vigilant. And like I said, I feel like God was speaking to me about that and saying, the enemy is going to try to do something in general, not just with me, but for anybody. The enemy is going to try to move in a way that, now that you've provoked him, he's going to try to move in a way. And how can you provoke the enemy? Be Christian, period. But now that you've provoked him, the enemy is going to try to move a certain way and try to sucker punch you. You need to stay vigilant.
Guerrilla tactic.
Yeah, and that's in my notes. Going back to like you said, that the way he moves, the guerrilla tactics. And so that's for all of us. If we are not vigilant, if we are not paying attention to, and this is why we're doing this, because we want you to be aware of how the enemy moves, so that you can know what to look for. because he moves in the subtleties.
And it can be as simple as you scrolling on your phone.
Exactly. And so you have to, and I've because I'm becoming more aware, I'm starting to like catch it. Like when I feel myself slipping into something, or feel my mind like trying to, well, what if you think about this? Or what if you think about this? I'm starting to catch it, but I would not be able to if I weren't being vigilant. But because now I'm getting an awareness of what to look for, I'm catching it. Like sometimes it ain't that quick. Sometimes it do take me a minute. But I am able to catch it a little bit better. And so what I really want is for y'all to be able to just be vigilant, to pay attention. And so I think this parasite analogy would really help some of y'all with that. Because it helped me. It really did. When I started thinking about it, I said, oh, because just like how we consume things and we don't think about what's attached to what we're consuming. And so we don't think about what's attached to, again, that music we're consuming, that movie we're watching, the what we're scrolling through on Instagram. We don't think about it. And I have my own thing about followers and following people on Instagram. I don't care. I used to want to follow everybody and follow all the celebrities and stuff like that. But I can't follow everybody because I don't want everything that's attached to everybody.
Even the idea of just following, period, when you think about social media, it's a very slippery slope when it comes to even the idea of it. You're following someone.
Right.
And it's something that we don't think about because it's like, oh yeah, it's just social media. But even the way social media is like created, you got to think how easy it is to slip into certain stuff. I'm gonna follow this person. What are you following them for?
Exactly. What are you following? What do they stand for? Like when I really want it to be a thing where we take that into consideration. Like, okay, if I'm following this person, what does that mean? What do they stand for? Where are they leading me? If I'm going to follow them, are they leading me to a better way of thinking? Are they leading me to a better way of living and being? Are they leading me closer to Christ? No? Then why am I following them?
For a good laugh, because you think they're cute, all them other types of stuff.
And I'm guilty of it. I've done it.
I mean, me too.
But that don't make it
That's
right.
what they talk about. Yeah, but that's how the slope is slippery. And the thing about it is that when I looked at it, because the reason I thought when you said Parasite the Maximum, if you ever watch the Ep5 anime watches, I always think about also another anime closely related to it, which is Tokyo Ghoul. And for those who haven't seen it, like the premise of Tokyo Ghoul is this little high school kid, or middle school high school kid, he in high school, Kaneki Ken, or Ken Kaneki, however you want to pronounce it. He was just a timid boy. He was going around. He wasn't very popular. He was very creative, but he could never get a girlfriend. So this particular girl saw him, met up with him. He's like, "Yeah, you can go out." Went out with a girl. Turned out to be a creature they call a ghoul. And ghouls are like, they look humanoid, but in reality, their main food source is eating humans. And ghouls can, the way their powers are set up, they can set up to form certain forms of like animal parts and stuff like that. They'll be like, it's kind of weird. But the main food source is when you know somebody is a ghoul, their eyes turn red in the middle and black around them. So their whole, when they're hungry or when they're in their ghoul modes, that's what they morph into. And Kaneki ends up trying to run away from the girl he was dating, the ghoul, with a girl he went out and date with, a ghoul. And she ended up, biting him, trying to eat him. And in the midst of him running away from her, they ran into a construction site, and her body ended up getting smashed by debris. And she ended up getting killed. But Kaneki, in the meanwhile, also got caught up in it to where he got so injured that he was like missing body parts. Like he's got so many internal injuries that his body parts got hurt. So a doctor ended up finding him and transplanted some of the girl's body parts into him. And he ended up waking up and one of his eyes was a ghoul eye. So because of the transplant, he ended up becoming half ghoul. And in the midst of the show, he's battling with the problems, or I would say the instincts of being a ghoul while still being human. So ghouls don't eat anything that's not raw meat with blood. And most of the time they eat humans. They don't even like eating animals because to them, that's almost like being a vegetarian.
Yeah.
And then, you know, just like in Parasite, you know, because they're now part of this particular situation, like the parasite is now in Shinichi, or Kaineki now becomes part ghoul. Those traits of the demons start to take over them, or the ghoul or the parasite. So Kaineki ends up getting caught up in this war between humans and ghouls, but he ends up getting captured and tortured by a ghoul. And because Kaineki has already went through a traumatic childhood, when he got tortured by the ghoul, it ended up shutting off a part of his own self, and he ended up going into a split personality disorder. To where he now shifted. He used to be a black hair, and he had a half mask, because ghouls used to wear masks when they went out. Certain ghouls used to wear masks in order to cover their faces so they can still operate in the ghoul world and not be caught. So his mask was a half mask. So you can see his regular eye, and then there'll be a ghoul eye. So when he had the half mask on, it would cover up his human eye and only expose his ghoul eye. But when he got tortured, the dude was named Jason, and he even had a mask named like that looked like Jason hockey mask. So that's why when the character was named Jason, it was like, yeah, this is a straight ripoff. But Jason tortured him so bad, ripped off fingernails, broke body parts, all different types of stuff. And in the end of it, he put a centipede into his ear.
Ew.
Right. And when that centipede went into his ear, that was the last thing that broke him, to where Kaineki had to, in order to survive, he shifted personalities. And then the personality he went into, his hair turned white because he got tortured so bad, to where he was ruthless in this move. He was so ruthless that he became a ghoul that ate ghouls.
Oh man.
And he would get stronger eating off of the power of other ghouls. So when after he changed, he went to fight Jason, and because he had now touched with his ghoul stuff, the way he shifted the personality, because when he shifted through this personality, the majority of the ghoul instincts was taken over. He's no longer the old Kaineki that he was, because that personality is now buried. Only thing that's out is the ghoul. So he's dead inside. Even his whole vernacular and how he talked and his dialect shifts. And he ends up not only beating Jason to death, he ends up eating Jason. So in turn, the boy who came out of nowhere, who got in touch with a certain ghoul, ended up becoming an even stronger ghoul. Which in my mind, it's the same way when you look at, when you come in contact with certain spirits or demons, if you let them or let certain situations pile on you while you interacting with or stuck with that certain situation, you may become worse than what you were originally. And it's like not even about the shift in the personality. You end up taking on the instincts of demonic character.
Yes. And I think, go ahead.
Go ahead. But it's like, and I think the situation was with Kaineki is like, in the end, and this is something that's so crazy because the whole manga Tokyo Ghoul, it takes you through different arcs to where Kaineki has had to splinter off his personality in order to survive, to where he becomes so many different people inside of this one body. Like there's a particular arc in Tokyo Ghoul Re, which is like the second part of the series, to where he ends up losing his memory a little bit while he was in the white hair ghoul mode, that he ends up creating another personality to survive. And he ends up being a detective, not knowing what he had been in the past from the previous two personalities, his original and his ghoul mode.
Oh my.
And he keeps splintering off his personality in every mode of trauma that he encounters, that like shakes him to the core, that he has no choice but to get deeper into another horrible version of himself in order to survive.
And I
And
think
sometimes
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because as you're talking, like stuff just keep coming to me. Go ahead.
But that's how, when I talk, me and my love, sometimes we be talking sometimes, it was like how darkness works when it attaches to you from other people. Once it attached to you and you don't understand it, or you've been in traumatic situations because of it, you get deeper and deeper into the darkness until you can no longer recognize yourself. But then you so far gone that you just accepting what's coming. The next traumatic experience happened to you while you're dealing with this darkness, you bury yourself deep in. To the point to where when God finally comes, you don't even want to show your face to him because you feel like you are no longer the person that even interacted with God like that. That personality, like with Kaneki, that personality that was the original him was so far gone from what he was currently that even he stopped interacting with people that really fooled with him when he was the original person, because he's like, I'm no longer that guy now. Or this personality that he was currently with was so far gone, he was like, how could I be around you? And that's how we treat God in certain situations where we like, Lord, I'm so far gone, I can't even show my face to you. How can I pray? How can I read? Like, how can I even speak your name? How can I even try to go to church in the state that I'm in? Because now you feel like the devil had you fooled and thinking you so far gone, and it's like you have no choice but to be with him. Because how could God want me?
Absolutely. And I've been studying Isaiah, and I just started studying Isaiah, and so I'm in chapter 1 right now. But as I'm studying, all I'm really seeing is just how much God wants you back. Like, even in that state, he would rather you come back to him in that state and have and be in the position of loving you back to life and loving you back to the person that he created you to be, than to have you separate from him. He does not want you separate from him. It is the sin and the demons attached to the sin that separates us. And again, that convinces us, deceives us into believing that we cannot go back home, to the point where we become convinced that it's better to stay in the brokenness, in the darkness, and we get deeper and deeper and deeper into it. But that is the last thing that God wants for us. He wants us to come back. He never intended for us to be separate from him.
But the devil will make you feel like your separation is the only thing you have left. Because he'll hit you with the emotion of, oh, I mean, do you not remember what you've done? How can you go back to God? That's the type of stuff he'll creep in your mind. And you will start being like, oh, well, I guess this is me believing this way. And then you'll believe it. You'll be like, yeah, I can't do this. God don't want me like this because, I did so and so and so and so. You will literally recount the acts that you feel like you did in the time where you weren't as close with God, or when the devil fooled you into this certain level, to where you then in turn think, I deserve this.
Right.
And the scariest part of that is when you start, the devil got you so messed up where you think you deserve certain forms of darkness, or in the environments that you in, or the people that you with, both friends and relationships. Because you just like, well, ain't no way that anybody would want to be with me, or ain't no way that, anybody would want to be a positive influence in my life, given what I've done or what I'm doing. And I feel like some of the most surprising parts is when God sends you, and this can happen to certain people, I ain't even gonna hold you, when God send you your person, when you feel like you at your most broken state and you don't deserve them,
Whew.
or you feel
Listen.
like ain't no way you just sent me this person because I ain't even all the way together yet. When you on your your healing journey,
And not gonna lie, I pray. I fear God doing something like that to me because I don't want to mess it up.
but that's you messed up with the main words you said. I fear. He didn't do that.
You're right, but when I think
Yeah,
about that, I'll be like, what? Because I do know situations like that happen. I'm just like, Lord, what if you do that and I mess it up,
but
or
the
like,
thing about it is, you're never supposed to feel prepared.
I know that, like logically, I know that, like even in entrepreneurship, I know that you will never be 100% prepared. I don't like perfectionism because of that. Like I know people who are perfectionists when it comes to their entrepreneurship or their craft, and they're trying to perfect it to the point where it's not like it's like I'll do this when it's ready. I'll put it out when it's ready, and it's like it's never gonna be 100% ready. Do
But
it
you do that when it
anyway.
comes to relationships.
Do it anyway and go on.
Yeah,
Keep
but you
growing.
do that when it comes to relationships. You literally just said it. So you might not be a perfectionist in certain areas, but you're doing it here.
You right. You right, I'm wrong. Um,
But that's the thing but even in our growth with God, the devil will still creep certain things in you to make you feel like you are inadequate
yeah.
in order to make you fear happiness, fear progression, fear certain goals, fear certain relationships. Oh, well, and even when we doing right by God, you'll be like, well, God, I don't think I'm good enough to get there yet. Well, he didn't say that to you. You said that to yourself.
Mm.
What he say? None of the sort. Oh, well, I fear that God will do that to me. Huh? Why you think
Yes,
why do
you.
you think God would do something bad to you?
I know he wouldn't. That's just an
But I'm
area I
just
still gotta grow in. That's all. And I just have to. I need God to heal me in that area, really.
but the thing about it is sometimes we be waiting on healing that he already gave us. It's crazy to me. And I literally just had a conversation about this like last night on how you can be praying for healing, be healed, and the only reason you in pain because you cutting yourself.
Mm.
You've been out of surgery. You already been through your PT or whatever you've been through in recovery. He done already sent you on your merry way. You don't want to keep cutting the wound back open. And we literally be healed and re-injuring ourselves, thinking that, oh God, I'm not ready, or thinking that, oh, I'm not healed from that yet. I'm gonna keep praying to God that He gonna heal me from that. Nigga, I mean, you got healing. You so healed, you are keloided.
Not keloid.
And yet you don't do nothing but rip it open. And the reason why you keep feeling pain, because you keep ripping the scab off. The healing process has been done.
Well,
Now, does it look like it used to be? No.
now,
That's
now,
what
you-
scars.
now you said something that's very reflective in my skin. I keep ripping the scab.
But the thing about it is, and me and my baby talk about this all the time, sometimes we do physical representations of our spiritual problems.
Facts, facts. I caught that in 2020 when I like really looked at my scabs, like when my scars. If you've never met me, I have like dark spots all over my body, and for a while I was very
A picker.
I was very self-conscious about them for a while.
I remember.
And I felt very unattractive. I've talked to Brandon about this. Brandon's our brother. I talked to him about this before.
You talked about it at the house
I've
in
I've
2020.
I felt like a monster because of it, and I felt very unattractive, and like I would never be with anybody because, or nobody would ever want to be with me because my skin is just so bad. And I mean, it's not horrible or anything, but it is very representative of a time of brokenness for me. And it's just because I would get mosquito bites or ant bites, because I like being outside, so I would get mosquito bites and ant bites, and then I'd end up picking it, and then it would heal, and then I would pick it again, it would heal, and I would pick it again, to the point where now they're just it's ultimately just damaged skin, and I have to like really work to clean it up and stuff and take better care of it. But for a while,
Ooh, you talking to yourself and don't even realize
yeah,
it.
no, I know. Like when I really started realizing, it was like my skin is representative of myself. Like I keep hurting myself and trying to heal and hurting myself some more and trying to heal and hurting myself some more. And then to the like, I don't know, I'm really learning and falling in love with taking care of myself.
Right.
But in many ways, not just, and that's where holistic wellness comes from for me. Like it's me really learning and growing how to take and learning and growing and understanding how to take care of myself on every level. So what you
But
said
that's the
about
thing.
picking the scab just kind of brought me to that.
Because sometimes we don't realize that sometimes the parasite ain't the demon, it's us.
That's true. That
Like,
it's the trauma and it's the pain and it's us replaying the trauma and the pain.
yeah. And that's the thing that we don't understand when it comes to
Because
like,
again, we are the ones who, if we're not careful, I mean, we're the ones ingesting the parasite, and
right.
we're the ones who are responsible for what we put in our bodies and what we put into
Or
our
do
spirits or our
to our bodies.
minds or what we do to our bodies. And so we are the ones who are taking in the pain, taking in the negative fears, the negative feelings and the fears and the re-traumatizing ourselves. We're doing all of that some of the time.
Yeah. Because God is not going to re-traumatize you.
And then what we don't realize is that in taking all of that in, we are taking in everything else that is connected to it.
Yeah. And it's even if I see it as, and this trigger warning, people, trigger warning, then it go into some stuff. So if you're not into certain forms of assault,
Well, nobody's into
pause.
that.
I'm just saying, but if you haven't healed from certain things where you can hear it or listen to it, trigger warning. An example I think about on how sometimes our trauma, or we re-traumatize ourselves, or how demons and spirits have interacted with us to make us do other things, is how I see certain people who have been assaulted as young kids or as adults and something like that, and then they in turn become assaulters. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, sexually, whatever. Because they've already been traumatized. And they've been traumatized so bad they end up taking on the characteristics of the assault or the assaulter. And then in turn, because they haven't healed, end up assaulting someone else.
Yeah.
And
we do that. I mean, we do that a lot. Like even without the extreme cases of assault, I mean, hurt people. That's where that comes from. When you aren't healed, when you haven't taken the time to heal, when we come to Christ, God tells us to turn away from our old life. And so when we come to that place of renewal or cleansing or forgiveness, we are commanded to turn away from the old, because if we don't, we will continue to hurt ourselves and in turn hurt others. And that is why that God commands us to do that.
And that's why when it comes to the idea of healing, there is a spot in our healing and in trusting God that we have to, and it's a process. I'm not going to ever say it's immediate.
Oh no.
But there's this secret hole that healers fall into of, I don't deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deserve this because. And it can be, some people think it's just when you still going through it. No, in the process of healing, we still think that, oh, I don't deserve this because of X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not saying that I don't go through it, but when I'm processing certain things, even in my past, it is mind-boggling to me. It literally hurts my brain when I think about, dang, how many times have we held ourselves back from God's blessing due to the fact that we still felt like we was back to where we was when he didn't pull us out of it.
Yeah.
Like we ain't already had journeys of progression, of healing, of recovery. And then we'll just, like, how in the world you just still act like he ain't did nothing? Like you still acting like this same person. Like, not saying that it's not a process. That's not what I'm getting at. Because I know everybody's process is different. My process, I'm still going through stuff. I would never say I don't. But in my mind, it's something I always would do. I'm not finna act. No, the essence. We don't show each other grace. We don't show ourselves grace.
Yeah.
And in our recovery, if you don't show yourself grace in your recovery, are you really recovering? Because there's going to be moments you're going to have to look at yourself from your past and be like, instead of being mad or sad about it, you're going to be like, you know what? I understand why I did so-and-so, so-and-so. I get it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in a better place, I can look at that moment and be like, yeah, that happened. It shouldn't have happened, but I understand.
Yeah.
Why I reacted the way I did, or why I did certain actions. Like I didn't know any better.
Right.
I was being manipulated, or I didn't have enough knowledge on how, or I was too stubborn to do, or any other things. You have to give yourself grace when it comes to our pitfalls in life.
Yeah.
Because God gives us grace all the time. That's why if he given us grace and mercy, why can't we do that to ourselves? Because at the end of the day, if you asked and repented and asked for forgiveness and all these other things, but you won't take the time to give yourself grace enough to be like, you know what? I get why I did that. I'm sorry to me.
I don't really know how to even I had some other stuff. I don't know how to how to transfer, how to move forward with it. I am stuck. Maybe that means we don't need to go any further. I don't know. There were just some quotes that stood out to me from the first 2 episodes. That made me I don't even want to say nothing no more. So we have, there's a scene. I don't know how to follow up with that. There's a scene where they kill the first parasite that they come across. and well, Mickey kills the first parasite that they come across. Um, and it's in a dog. The host is a dog. And there is a moment where Mickey, like after it kills the dog, um, Mickey is just like environment and maturation are factors, but it was lax with its studies. I won because of research. And so that's just kind of highlighted again, like how the enemy studies us, and just what the purpose of this is to ultimately study the enemy. So even in our in those moments where we are healing, or we're supposed to be healing, um, we often re-traumatize ourselves, or we end up re-traumatized, or just still in that cycle of brokenness, because the enemy is studying us and he knows what to do, like
What
what
to trigger you with,
what to
what to
trigger
put
us
you
with.
back in.
And he knows how to do it. And again, it's very subtle sometimes. So it may be like you just come across some, like we said earlier, you may come across something on social media and just say, suddenly there's a thought in your head that's like, I will never have anything like that because such and such and such and such, and because this happened to me and this. And next thing you know, you are going down memory lane, replaying these traumatic experiences or these hurtful experiences in your brain. And now you're back to square one, or you feel like you're back at square one. And so, what this scene really said to me was the difference between us and the enemy is simply research. And that's why we have to take our time, we have to make it a point to research ourselves. And this is important because again, the enemy will try to trick you into believing that you are that person, that old person, or that person who was wounded by life. And you have to constantly, for me, I find that I have to constantly go to God and say, like, please continue to show me who I am so that I can continue to remember that, because I trust what you say about me. So help me to like keep that at the forefront of my mind, so that when the enemy tries to come in and say, you're this, nobody will ever love you because of this. And I can always say, that's not who God said I am. Oh, you're this type of person because this happened. That's not who God said I am. Maybe maybe that has become something that I've had to take on in order to survive, just like those splintered personalities that we take on because we have to survive. Maybe that's something that I've taken on in order to survive, but that's not who God said I am. So God, you said that I'm this. You said that as your daughter, I am loving, I am kind, I am to exhibit your fruits of the spirit, meaning I am to be joyous, I am to be faithful, I am to be patient, I am to have self-control. There are some things that I've done that do not exhibit self-control or patience or love or kindness or anything like that. And it is because I have had to do the opposite of those things in order to survive. But that's not who you said I am. So I'm not going to care about the enemy trying to put those things on my mind about what I used to do that does not line up with who you are, who you said I am. And I'm going to turn more toward who you said I am. But again, that comes with talking to God and asking Him to reveal to us who we are in Him, so that the enemy does not, so basically, so that the enemy studying is in vain. We have to study the enemy, and we also have to study ourselves, and we have to especially study God. Who does God say we are, and who is God? Especially so that we can be able to know when something is of God and when it's not, because the enemy will always hit you with something that has a form of godliness but is not God. And then the next part is, or the next quote, or the last quote, really. It was only two, but is when that particular parasite said, "Your host's brain is still intact. That's dangerous." Um, and what stood out to me is what I understood about that was the parasites thrive by taking over our minds, i.e., making it want what it wants. So again, you may not be. I've seen like testimonies of people saying like, I didn't really want to do this, but it felt like something was pushing me to do this. Or I don't remember doing this, but I did it. Like I've been in a situation where, and this is why I really believe the enemy will use other people to get you, because I've been in a situation where I was with somebody who was doing X, Y, and Z at the beginning, and then once it was done, that like once we were together or whatever, and I was wondering why they weren't doing those things anymore, they literally asked like, I don't remember doing any of that.
Playing a role. And sometimes a demon have you playing a role too.
Exactly, a demon will have you playing a role, and you won't if you are not vigilant. If you are the greatest deception ever is the enemy making people believe that he don't exist. So if you are a person who believes that the enemy does not exist, or you don't believe in spirituality or heaven or hell, that is the quickest way that you can get God, and that is the quickest way for the enemy to use you for his purposes, because you don't expect it. You're not being vigilant. And unfortunately, that takes a toll on other people. And what I'm also learning as I'm studying Isaiah 1 is the biggest thing that God has revealed to me is that the real reason why he wants us to be obedient is because he knows how our obedience will affect other people. And in the same way, he knows how our disobedience will affect other people. And so our disobedience is us blatantly disrespecting him, not acknowledging him, not honoring him. That affects other people. And so when you don't have a relationship with God, that affects other people. That affects the people that you come in contact with, because the enemy can use you against those people. And you won't even be aware of it. And these people can have great callings on their lives, but you are playing a part in the enemy's game because you don't want to believe, or because your intellect is too great for spiritual, or whatever you want to believe. But that we have to really take into consideration how we affect other people. Again, I've said it before, we have to live our lives as if other people's lives depend on it, because they do.
See, the thing about it is we keep trying to blame. Well, I wouldn't say blame, but we fear taking responsibility.
That ain't got nothing to do with me. Yes, it does. That's selfish, and that's the enemy itself. Like, that selfishness is the enemy. But again, when you don't have that frame of mind, you don't know that, you don't realize that, and you have hurt yourself and other people, because you have closed yourself off from that frame of mind. Continue. I'm sorry.
It's just, when I think about it, is that when we are healing or we're trying to recover, we're dealing with these certain parasites, some things that we don't pay attention to is the fact that, it's more than just you at stake.
Yeah.
It's your generations. Like you don't understand, like the same way how our family's been dealing with like generational curses and stuff like that. The reason why generational curses, in my opinion, last is because nobody thinks that the next generation will have to deal with it. So unless you make a conscious effort to try to put a stop to something that you know has been lingering, like nothing will ever get, in my opinion, broken.
Mm-hmm.
We'll still be sitting with the same thing. You'll still be dealing with the same cycles of depression, same cycles of anger, same cycles of unforgiveness, same cycles of theft, sexual immorality, all different types of stuff, due to the fact that you never thought to yourself that the way I need to break this is by literally thinking about more than just me. That I'm
Mm-hmm.
not just healing for me, I'm healing for multiple people. I'm
Yeah.
healing for my kids that ain't even here yet. I'm healing for my grandpa that's already gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm healing for people that already don't have to deal with. Like, I'm healing for my friends that I ain't even met yet. I'm healing for my wife and my husband that I ain't even dated yet.
Right.
Like, it's more than what you think it is. And I mean, our selfishness can make us go, yeah, it's just about us, cool. But in reality, it's about the students you're supposed to be teaching, the mentors you're supposed to have.
Yeah.
Like, the path that you're gonna be able to follow due to the fact of you. It's just so many things that you have to think about that don't
But
nobody really.
it's the world that we live in right now. Like it has been prophesied already. It's in the Bible, the world that we live in. Second Timothy 3 told us what to expect. And I'm finna read it real quick. For people will love only themselves and their money. They will be boastful and proud, scoffing at God, disobedient to their parents, and ungrateful. They will consider nothing sacred. They will be unloving, unforgiving. They will slander others and have no self control. They will be cruel and hate what is good. They will betray their friends, be reckless, be puffed up with pride, and love pleasure rather than God. They will act religious, but they will reject the power that could make them godly. Stay away from people like that. They're the kind who work their way into people's homes and win the confidence of vulnerable women who are burdened with guilt of sin and controlled by various desires. Such women are forever following new teachings, but they are never able to understand the truth. These teachers oppose the truth just as Jannes and Jambres opposed Moses. They have depraved minds and a counterfeit faith, but they won't get away with it for too long. Someday, everyone will recognize what fools they are, just as with Jannes and Jambres. And so it's unfortunately it's to be expected, but the wild thing about it is even that tells us why Jesus needed to be sent in the first place. Because God knew it's gonna get bad before it get worse. And I had that revelation today. God knew it was gonna get bad before it gets worse. Him already knowing, okay, we gonna have these people who are boastful of who are boastful of wealth, who are prideful, who are lovers of themselves. But it's all gonna be because of culture, because of trend, because they did not know. And so I am going to send Jesus to make sure that they have an opportunity for a second chance. Because God loves us so much that he wants to make sure that we have an opportunity to come back home to him. But if we get so caught up in this world and we don't remain vigilant as we should, it'll be the parasites that take us over and stop us from getting home.
Or either be us.
Or it'll be us, which still parasites in our own way, still parasites. So that's all I had to share tonight. I'm really glad. I like this episode. So Do you have anything to add?
Um, Forgive yourself, people.
Yeah. Forgive yourself, forgive others. I know it's hard. I know that
I ain't even
forgiving
going to
others is
others.
like,
I ain't I ain't even going to others because that's if you don't forgive yourself first, how you gonna forgive somebody else?
that's
It's the
true.
same way
But
how people view how
e-
love works.
but the first step of that is understanding how and why God forgives you.
Yeah,
Because once you do that, then you can say, okay, if God sees me this way, and because it's easy to say, well, God forgives me, but do you understand why? Do you understand it's because He knows that you didn't know no better?
he understand that you a child, no matter how old you are.
Exactly.
That's what people don't understand. You're still a child, no matter how old you are. You're his child, so of course he gonna treat you like such. It literally don't make no sense.
Mm-mm.
You sitting up there doing the wrong stuff, thinking, "Oh, just because I reached a certain age, I matured." No, people are old and still spiritual babies.
Yeah.
And if you really start thinking like that, it's in Romans that you have to have the mindset of a child. But the thing about it is the world gonna make you think you need to be grown so bad. God don't even want you in that state.
Oh, child, that
The thing about it is he never asked you to, I want adults.
like, yeah, this adulthood stuff, like, yes, we grown, all that stuff, whatever. But if you really look at it, like when you say stuff like I feel so adult, um,
Or adulting.
or adulting, and
I
I've
feel
done it.
like I'm
I've
adulting.
done it. And it's just like adult
Me too.
according to whose standards, and why does it matter if I feel so adult? I'm really still trying to figure this out, and God knows I'm still trying to figure this out. I know the truth. God know the truth. I, but we will get caught up in it. We will get caught up in the sin of pride and in the sin of comparison because we're trying to fit somebody else's approval, somebody else's standards of what it means to live a certain way, live at a certain age, or whatever. We all still figuring this out, and y'all ain't fooling nobody. Ain't nobody fooling nobody. Well, some of y'all being fooled. You ain't
I'm
fooling
trying
me
to fool
because I'm
trying to
still
fool
trying to figure
somebody
it
by looking like a fool.
out.
Trying to fool somebody looking like a fool. Don't even make sense.
Ain't fooling me because I ain't got
And
it
you
all
ain't fooling
together.
him either.
I ain't got it together. You ain't got it together. That's the point. That is the point. God knows nobody has it together, i.e., why He sent Jesus. If we had it all together, we wouldn't need Jesus. God knew in no way, shape, or form will they ever really have it all together. And I don't want my children walking around like that. So get it together and accept that you ain't got it all together.
Get it together and know that you ain't gonna have it all together.
Exactly.
That's the reason why grace and mercy are here for multiple reasons.
Now, that's not an excuse to just sin. God
No,
still said turn away from it.
but the thing about it is you have to strive to be better, knowing the fact that you'll never be
Exactly.
perfect.
Exactly. That's a word. You got to strive to be better, knowing that you will never be perfect. Progress is the key. But also, yeah, just don't sin. Try your hardest because understand that what I've also learned, what God has also revealed to me is just in Him telling us not to sin, it is really for our protection because of those different demons that are attached to the sins. He knows what they're like. He knows how they can be, and he knows how dangerous it can be for them to be attached to us and for us to be connected to other people, because then they'll try to attach to other people. God knows all of that. Him telling us not to sin is ultimately for our protection. Again, it's not going to be easy, but it's the striving. Every day that he gives you, make it a point to live for him.
Quit being selfish, thinking it's all about you.
Yes. Your name is not Penny Proud. It is not all about you. It's not Panay. It's not all about you.
Everybody need to go watch that episode.
I know, that's what just played in my head. That's why I said it. That just played in my head. It's all about me. It's all okay.
I literally just saw the episode last week, randomly.
But yeah, that's all we have for tonight. Thank y'all so much for listening. Share it if something in this word, or if you caught a word from this or something touched you, let us know. We love to hear it. Share it with people. Don't be selfish. Share it with other people. Always remember you're connected to people for a reason. You're connected to people in order to, and this isn't to just like share our stuff or anything like that, but like whatever the Lord blesses you with, you're connected to other people to share it. So if he blessed you with a word, if he used us to bless you with a word or to bless you with some understanding, share it. So yeah, we will see y'all next time. Peace.
Deuces.
I'll stop recording.